welcome to another episode of Stuck in My Mind podcast. I'm your host, WIZE. And on today's episode, we sit down with a seasoned professional with over 15 years of experience in the business world. Welcome to the show, Emily Sander. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
The pleasure's mine. How are you doing today?
So far, so good. It's January, so all the New Year's resolutions are holding strong still. Trying to stay focused and committed to all the goals and objectives.
Awesome. So let's just jump right into this. So your career has been diverse from startups to established companies. What inspired you to transition from corporate roles to coaching?
Yes, so I was in between jobs and I was just looking back on all of the corporate roles I had, and I said, what's my favorite part of each one of these roles? And it was the one-on-one mentorship and guidance and helping people get to whatever their next level was, whether that was like an actual promotion or if it was, oh, now Jennifer feels more comfortable speaking in a group and now she can do a presentation at our risk summit in front of 200 people. So those types of things stood out. And I said, okay, well, if I can wake up and do my favorite part of the day all day, wouldn't that be amazing? And so I said, all right, well, life is short. Let me make that happen. So I went all in on my coaching practice, and here I am today.
All right. So could you share some of your key takeaways from your book? Because I forgot to mention you are a published author. So from your book, Hacking Executive Leadership, that resonate with business leaders, what's some key takeaways from your book?
Sure. So one framework that helps people make decisions is 3 circles. So 3 circles are circle 1 plus circle 2 equals circle 3. And in circle 1 is an external event, so something that happens in life. And then circle 3, you skip all the way to circle 3 really fast, and you say, what is my desired outcome here? So what do I want to have happen in this situation? And then you actually take a step back and kind of reverse into circle 2, which is, okay, what do I need to say and do, or what do I need to not say or not do in order to get myself into circle 3? So there's a few steps in that equation that are important. One is which you got to define what you're trying to do. A lot of people are going through life and just knee-jerk reaction and kind of responding emotionally to things. And you've got to have like, this is my North Star. This is what I'm trying to get to. And then you've got to be a leader, a strong enough leader to say, I might not feel like doing what I need to do from circle 2 to circle 3, but I'm gonna do that because that's what it takes to get there.
That's right. They don't have to. Get on out of here. Okay.
All right. So the role of chief of staff is often misunderstood. What motivated you to write an insider's perspective on the chief of staff, and what insights can listeners expect from it?
Sure. So I wrote the book just for the reason you said, which is not a lot of people know about it. And people have questions about, do I want to be a chief of staff? A lot of leaders have questions around, should I bring a chief of staff onto my executive team? And so it's a book about my experience as chief of staff, and then all of my coaching clients who have been chiefs of staff and executives who have worked with chiefs of staff. So if you want to pick up that book, it's about what the role is, kind of who would be good at it, how to excel in the role, and then how to use it in an organization.
So is that a position you feel organizations should have?
Yes. I mean, if you're doing anything where you're coordinating big initiatives cross-functionally, so across departments like operations, finance, products, then a chief of staff can help with that. If you need someone with kind of a coach approach to management, you can bring in a chief of staff to help the executive, and also your kind of mid-level managers as well. So it's versatile, can do a dozen different things, but the biggest ones are probably the strategic mapping across the organization, and then keeping the CEO and leadership team prioritized and focused towards their top priorities.
And help me get to the salon.
Okay, so And this is this is something that uh small businesses, like not big corporations, is this something that you help small businesses in is this something you help small businesses introduce into their workplace?
Yes, definitely. So, chief of staff, or I have a client with a three-person team. So that is startup of startups. And then I have clients at Fortune 50 companies where you would recognize the name if I said them. So those two versions of chief of staff are very different, but they're still adding value to their role. Sometimes it is working with, let's say there's a chief of staff at a company and then a new CEO comes in. I might work with both of them on how to best utilize that role. So, certainly in that case, I would say, okay, let's define the scope of what a chief of staff does for you guys, for your organization, and where to best place that chief of staff. So, there's a lot of that more on on the smaller business end.
Yeah. So in your book, you mentioned the failure loop as a framework for progress. Can you explain how embracing failure contributes to personal and professional growth?
Yes. So, I mean, let me ask you, if you knew that you could never fail again, what in your life would be different? So, the failure loop is a framework to help you reframe failure. And so in the book there's a chart, but I'll describe it. It's a series of individual loops and the chain of loops goes up and to the right. And up and to the right is progress, which is what we're all trying to do, or hopefully all trying to do. And if up and to the right is progress, in one section of the individual loop, it goes back down into the left when you're looping around. And that is the point where you failed. So, oh my gosh, I tried to start my own business, but it went under. Or, oh my gosh, I made this decision at work or with my family, and now it's gone all wrong. And I have to admit to myself and others, this is not what I intended, which is a bad spot to be. A lot of people stop there and they'll just sit there and kind of drown in their own pools of pessimism and negativity, and they'll start raking themselves over the coals and they'll just stop there. And instead, if what you can train yourself to do is say, okay, I know where I am in this process, and what I need to do to keep going is take the lesson and learning from this experience, as painful as it might be, and apply it to the next time. And when you do that, you've just propelled yourself up the chain of loops back up and to the right in the direction of progress.
Kind of.
And if you think about this, if you really take this in and you really action this, and this becomes part of who you are, you can't ever really fail again in the traditional sense. So if you take this, for your career or for your life or for your personal growth, and you continue pushing yourself and putting yourself out there, you're going to become a successful person because you're going to fail more times than other people even try.
It does.
Excuse me. And that's the key is I don't I don't look at it as failure. I look at it as like learning and growing and growing from these experiences. Because how are you gonna know if it's gonna work for you if you don't try it? And so it can be I like you said, eventually if you keep failing and failing and just keep, but as long as you keep going and trying and eventually things are like it'll go back into progression, like how you said, like when you come down, yes, you fail, but then when you're coming back up, you see the progression and growth because you take from the experience.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, it's what are you leaving on the table by not trying? Most people have untapped potential a mile long because they're too afraid to put themselves out there and maybe look silly or something doesn't go quite right. And they're playing small. They're playing small with their talents and it's to their detriment and to the people around them.
Whatever, little mama.
Okay, so effective communication is crucial in leadership. How can self-awareness enhance one communication skills, and what tips do you offer in this regard?
Yeah, so the main thing with communication is knowing that you have a communication style right now, whether you know it or not, and then everyone else has their communication style, which could be close to yours, but it also could be something very, very different. So it's first of all understanding that concept. So now that you've heard that, you're a step ahead already. And then it's saying, okay, let me put some time and effort into trying to understand where this person is coming from and how this person needs to receive this message to hear it. Because you can yell at someone and say it over and over in your own way, but if that's not how they're taking in information, then it could be going over their head, or it could be upsetting them or whatnot. If you actually want to have some information conveyed and land to your listener, you have to make sure you're speaking in their communication style.
Big on the radio.
I think that's the biggest first piece, is understanding that, and then
Get off prison and jail.
kind of being curious and observing, like, oh, this person likes things short and sweet and to the point. So boom, 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 like don't waste time, just give them the bottom line. This other person is a little more like slower and likes to see all the work behind the decision and likes to see all the information and background context, all that stuff. And so just knowing who you're working with can make you more effective and make you more influential. So if you can put all these things together, you'll be able to have a greater influence through your communication, and you'll be able to get to the results.
Yeah, they're old.
For size, yeah.
It doesn't matter.
I want to apologize.
What are some strategies for leaders to build high performing teams, especially in this rapidly changing business environment?
Yeah, to build high performing teams, I would say making sure you're investing in your leaders. So a lot of people will say, okay, I'm going to take the best performer from this team and I'm going to make them a manager. Well, that's fine in one sense, because you're saying here's the best person, but doing well in that
19
entry level role
and I have no perm.
and being a manager of people and being a manager of team are two totally separate things. So I think organizations can set their people up well if they give them the tools and the training and the practice to be an effective manager. So investing in people, I think for me in my career, I've had so many people take a chance on me where I was not the obvious choice for a role. I was the youngest, I was the least experienced. I
want to apologize to the people that
but they saw something in me where it was
get your blood
kind of like an X factor. It was, I don't quite know what it is, but Emily has this thing. She might not have the resume or the experience or went to this fancy school, but she's got the leadership chops. And so they put me in this role where I didn't deserve it on paper, but I was able to take advantage of that opportunity and do a good job with the people. So kind of keeping an eye out for those people who might be kind of under the radar, but if you give them an opportunity and you open a door for them, they're going to do wonders for your team.
One of your gnarled fingers. You on air.
Come on, stay over there.
Don't worry.
Your coaching practice serves a wide range of clients, from early career professionals to seasoned executives. How do you tailor your coaching approach to meet their diverse needs?
Yes. So right now I typically work with 3 groups of people. So as you said, early executives in career transition, that would be like a director or VP who's just gotten a new role. And then I work with founders or entrepreneurs who are trying to scale their business and they've reached a plateau or a point that they've gotten stuck in. And then the third bucket would be chiefs of staff or executives who work with the chief of staff. And so each one of those buckets, if you will, are a little bit different. And then, of course, each individual situation is a little bit different. So I offer a 30-minute intro call with anyone interested, and we just kind of talk about what they have going on and what they're trying to accomplish. And then we build an engagement that works specifically for them to get them where they want to go.
Awesome.
One of our hands moving while we talk. Headphones.
Could you share some of the worth of price of admission, recruiting, and hiring tips for businesses looking to build a strong team?
Yes, so recruiting and hiring is one of my favorite topics, and there's 2 kind of categories you want to look at there. There's the aptitude piece. So the aptitude is like the hard skills you need. If you're going to be, I don't know, an accountant, you have to have financial skills. And then there's the attitude piece, which is kind of do you get along with people? Would it be nice to work with you on a group project? Like, can you communicate with people and not be a jerk? And so you have to have both of those things. So when you're looking to hire someone and bring them on, keep those two buckets in mind. And then the thing that I like to do is set up a interview process where you get a whole bunch of touch points with the candidate. So on email, on phone calls, in person, different times of day, and just all of those things you're taking in and saying, how long does it take them to respond? How do they craft an email? How do they show up on the
Right,
phone?
yeah.
It doesn't matter.
I want to apologize for the collection.
How do they interact with
You
different
can't beat
members
your blood
of the
pressure down. You can't call me that.
all of those things are just data points you collect every day.
So, do you tailor it to each
I've never been to
each
prison.
individual's
1970s,
strengths and
no
weaknesses?
conviction.
So where
Prison and jail
you
aren't the
focus
same.
on
Never forget when
certain,
Steve
you know,
Ballmer
yes,
shot
this is
Rose
what they're
Scott
great
Williams.
at. This is their
Instantly
strength.
regretted
This is the area that they're lacking. Is that where you concentrate more of your effort on?
19 inches long and
For interview loops, it's more so what does this role need? So who is the ideal candidate for this role? And then making sure that you're capturing the information you need to make the best decision you can. So for instance, we'll take that accountant. Well, they might need to be a CPA, or they might need to have a certain set of skills with certain software tools. Okay, I got to build those into the interview process. Whereas if you hire someone
I want
for
to apologize to the people
marketing
that-
manager, well, they need to be creative. They need to have ideas about campaigns and about branding and all this stuff. So that's more so having a conversation with them, looking at their portfolio, and just talking about some ideas that we could work on together for the company. So kind of two different tracks, but you're still qualifying the best candidate.
The host try to roast Cat Williams.
Okay.
Instantly regretted it.
And help me get to the salon. Your hair is kind of
Okay. Many professionals aspire to transition from individual contributors to leaders. What advice do you have for those on this career path?
I would say you need to be a top performer in your role. So no one's going to look at you and say, oh, you're performing the least well and you're the laziest. Let me pull you up for a promotion. So do a good job in the role you have. And then I would say, if there's opportunities to work on special projects, if there's opportunities to brainstorm on a project, then just take those out of default and start getting more familiar with the leadership team. You get exposure to different groups of people. Always come with solutions. So a lot of people will say, well, we're doing this wrong and this is horrible and that's bad. And, it's just a crappy place to work. And they stop talking. And I'm like, you can identify that, but you also got to follow it up with, and here's what I think we should do. Or I've been thinking about this. And what if we did this, this, and this? That would help our team. That would help our customers. So be that person who maybe bring a situation to light that maybe people don't know about, but always say, and here's what I think we can do about it.
Okay. So leadership often involves adapting to new challenges, right? How do you help your clients navigate transitions and overcome these obstacles?
The first thing I would say is change is neutral. So unexpected change, almost everyone by default says, oh, that's bad. So when something like, oh, hold on, we didn't talk about that, it's a bad thing. And so understanding that change in and of itself is neither good nor bad. It's just a change. So being open to the fact, okay, this might be surprising, but it could actually turn out for the better. It could actually be a springboard or a catalyst for something good for me or my team. And so just being open-minded is important, because when you look at things through the lens of this is horrible, this is the worst that could happen, then all you're going to see is the bad parts about it. Whereas if you're just neutral and more open-minded, okay, let me see that for what it is. Let me see that for what it is. Oh, actually, that could be kind of interesting. And so having that lens and that approach to it, I think is good. And then something that someone told me early on in my career, which has absolutely been true, is just because you can't see an option or think of a way forward doesn't mean there isn't one. And so many times over and over and over again, I have been like, oh my gosh, there's option A and there's option B. And one of these things is going to happen. And it turns out to be option, D, E, F, blue, triangle, square, grass, whatever. It's all these different things that can unfold and happen. And so just trusting and having faith that even if you can't see something or how something's going to turn out, there's going to be an option that unfolds. And so you can just keep yourself open and ready for that.
Could you share an example of a coaching success story where your guidance had a transformative impact on a client's career or leadership style?
Yes, I mean there's quite a few, and I mean a easy one to explain is I worked with a person working at one of the big four consulting firms, and she had interviewed for partner, and she had not gotten that role, and so she had gotten a certain set of feedback off of her interview loop, and those positions were going to be available for her to interview in 1 year's time. And so she engaged with me, and we worked together for 9 months to work on some things that she had feedback on. And then she was able to prepare her interview and her business case and do the week-long kind of interview with everyone. And she actually got the partner job. So that was amazing. And she's definitely really good in that role and qualified and deserves to be in that role. So that was great there. Other ones I like to talk about would be mindset shifts, because a lot of people they get in their own way, and your show is all about that, but
Yeah.
they put these limiting beliefs in their head and they just run that program over and over and over again. And sometimes you can see that you're doing it, sometimes it's happening, sometimes you don't, sometimes you can't even see the program because it's so ingrained. But having a coach who is an outside objective sounding board and someone who can give you observations and candid feedback, I think is so important for that self-awareness and mastering ourselves and leading ourselves before we go out and lead others. So I love when I'm working with someone and they go, oh, I didn't think I could do that, or I've never been able to not worry going into that type of meeting, or I feel confident now. That's amazing when someone breaks through and works their way to a new level.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure it is. That it brings um, a lot of pride in being able to see someone accomplish something that they probably felt they weren't able to do, and
Mhm.
to see them accomplish it. And I can imagine the feeling that's amazing. So, what role does continuous improvement play in your own life and career? And do you have any self improvement practices that you find particularly effective?
Yeah, so my stance on that is I wanna learn something the day I die. So I wanna always be learning and growing and bettering myself. And it's at the time of recording, it's January, and so I was reading The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, and it had some great stuff about how you set up your day and how you start off your day. And he's got components of like meditation, doing a bit of exercise, doing a bit of reading, so you always have that learning and growth right there at the beginning. Being really clear about your goals and being really clear about what type of person you want to be. And so I've started to put that in practice, and I really enjoyed it so far. I previously read the 5 a.m. Club, which is kind of sort of similar in the sense that it has a morning routine, but I liked the Miracle Morning. It had some customizable elements that I liked, and I've really been getting a lot of clarity with running that program in the morning. I've been far more creative, so ideas would just pop into my head, and I'm like, "Oh, I guess that's what I should do because that's amazing." And so having something like that where you can just set up your day for success, I think is really been helpful for me.
Yeah, and I agree with you on. I want to learn until the day I die. I want to learn something new, and it's for me when I started podcasting. I didn't have a clue. I didn't know anything about equipment. I didn't know anything about. I wasn't a media guy. I didn't. So when I finally jumped into it and got out of my own way, it was
Yeah.
me making excuses why I shouldn't do the podcast or why I couldn't do it. Or so when I finally got out the way and pressed record and released my first episode, it was me. It was for me. It was like, okay, I can do this. And so
Yeah.
with each episode, it was a lesson. It was me growing and developing. I started eventually. It probably took me 30 something episodes before I really started putting titles, descriptions, thumbnails, all these things. But it was it's things that I started learning and seeing that, okay, all right, I need a cover art for my show. I need a intro, outro. All these things that I felt like, okay, if I'm gonna do this, I need to be serious about it. I really need to dive into it. I started taking courses. YouTube is is amazing with what I've learned on YouTube. I've learned how to edit video, edit audio, create all these different elements, and it's been so much fun. It's like this is stuff I didn't know I was capable of doing. And so when I finally
Well,
did it, it was like, wow, okay.
and think about how many people you're helping, and think about how many people you would have not helped had you said, "Oh, this is too hard. Like this is too scary. I'm going to stop." So, and that that story reminds me of a lot of people wait to feel confident before they do something,
Mm,
and it's the opposite, right? So it's you go do the action and you prove to yourself you're that kind of person. And
yeah,
I think that a great quote, and I'll mangle this quote, but it's the action you take creates the person you are. So you're literally carving your character by the choices that you make. And so, hey, if you're someone who does a podcast every week, then you're a podcaster. It might be like your first one, it might be your second one, it might be you don't have any descriptions or a thumbnail, but you're a podcaster and you're proving that to yourself and you're becoming that person every
yeah,
time you do it. And it's the same way with any habit or any part of us. Go take the action to craft who you are in the world.
yeah. It took me, like you mentioned earlier, getting out of your own way. It took me getting out of my own way and really just, okay, I can do this. I released the first one, and I had read somewhere that the average lifespan of a podcast is 7 to 10 episodes. So for me, I was like, all right, I could do 7 to 10 episodes, which I did. And by the time I got to 20, I was like, okay, this is all right. This is what I want to do. And to see the growth from where I started in March 2020 to where I'm at now, the change and the evolution from a strictly audio podcast to now having over 3,000 subscribers on YouTube, um, over 26,000 downloads for the audio podcast. This is amazing to me because this is not something I would have been happy with 500 downloads. I was happy. I'd celebrated my 500 downloads because I'm not. You see all these other podcasters and a lot of these podcasts, a lot of celebrities now have podcasts and all
Yeah.
these other people. And for 26,000 people to download me or whatever it is, I'm like, wow.
That's impressive. Yeah. I just started my podcast this year, so I'm way behind you. I'm trying to catch up. But yeah, if I ever got to like 100, I'd be like, woohoo, party. But you've stuck with it and it's paid off. So it's good on you. You earned that.
Oh man, it's been a great ride. I've been able to network with some amazing people, have some great conversations, and and it's the impact I make. It's the messages I receive from some certain episodes. So from people who, hey, thank you. I need to hear that episode. Or in the case of a guest I've had on twice the second time, somehow the interview we had slipped through the cracks, and I didn't release it till almost a year later.
Mm.
And so when I released it, I tagged her in it and everything, and she messaged me, and she said, "Is that the episode we recorded in December or whatever?" I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "Man, thank you." Because of the description I put in about her, and so I said a bunch of wonderful things about her, and the thumbnail I created with one of her favorite pictures, and I didn't know it was one of her favorite pictures. I just picked it out, and used it on the thumbnail. And she goes, um, "I needed this because I haven't been feeling like that person you described in the
Mm.
episode." She says, "I needed this. Thank you so much." And to me, I was like, "Wow, this is our episode. This is an episode me and her created, and for it to make an impact on her a year later, to me was amazing." And
Yeah.
it just solidified our friendship even more. It just now we always reach out and communicate, and it was when you can make that kind of impact. To me, it's to me, I love it. I just want to continue to do it.
No, that's a beautiful story, and I remember when I was younger and I was going through just some rough times and being very hard on myself. I remember my mom saying, "I wish you could see yourself through my eyes," because she was always proud of me and she was always supportive, and she saw all the good things that I was doing. Yes, I was having challenges or doing these things, but she saw all the good things and she just looked at me through a lens of love, you know? And so just hearing her say that, go, "Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm being really, really hard on myself right now. And if I could just see myself through your eyes, even a little bit, then that just puts a whole new light on it." So yeah, sounds like same thing with you a little bit.
Oh no, yeah, it's for, for me, and it's you asked earlier, well, you asked off air how my 2024 was starting, right? Um, 2023 was so it had some of the highest of the highs and some of the lowest lows. Um, 2023 was one of the best years for my podcast. One of the best years. As far as guests, it's everything. It was just a great year. It was just an amazing year, and I couldn't really celebrate it. Um, People out there know my mom suffers from dementia, and we're struggling with the transition and everything that's going on with her. So it was like it's been it was a rough year, and 2024 is kind of starting off the same, but having my podcast, like I told a friend of mine, this is my safe place. This is where I get to talk and let these out and show people like, hey, listen, regardless of what you're going through in life, you can still keep it moving and keep going.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear about your mom, and I think, you know, so often with life, something is going really well and then another part is just heartbreaking in a way. And so I've had those moments, and it takes, you doing a gut check on yourself and saying,
Yes.
"Okay, what am I going to be about right now?" and move forward. And sometimes, I've been in a place where it's literally like it's not even one day at a time. It's like right, left, breathe, right, left, breathe, and just kind of one foot in front of the other type of deal. So I appreciate that it can get to that point.
Yeah. Okay. So in today's ever evolving business landscape, what leadership skills or qualities do you believe are most essential for success?
Yeah, I would say adaptability right now because leaders, we've kind of traditionally thought of leaders as these like big, overconfident, heroic figures who have all the answers all the time, right? And in today's world, you almost need to be a little bit of a shapeshifter. So not in a bad way, but just you need to be able to adapt to the different situations that you're going to be put in, and you need to adapt to market conditions, to industry changes, to personnel changes. We talked about communication before. Am I adapting my communication to this audience? Am I adapting my communication style to that person? So I think adaptable. We also talked about learning and growth. So are you adapting and evolving as a person and as a leader? Because that's a aspect of it too. So I think adaptability is got to be top of the list.
Okay. So as someone who's experienced both the corporate and coaching worlds, how do you see the future of leadership and development and coaching evolving?
Yes. So I think there's more and more emphasis being placed on training leaders and giving them tools like coaching. So before it was like, all right, you're in this role, kind of sink or swim type of thing. And now I think businesses are seeing the advantage of, okay, if we actually take time to invest in our people, and it might take them a little bit longer to do certain things or get to a certain point, but once they do, they're so much more effective, they're so much better in that role, they're so much happier. When you've got happy leaders, you've got happy employees, you've got happy customers, that's going to lead to business success, financial success. And so I think some industries are ahead on others, but this is a trend that I hope to continue seeing. I see more and more businesses coming to that conclusion. And so I work with direct clients, like individual direct clients. And then I also work with organizations who say, we want to provide coaching to our leadership team or to our managers as part of our business. And so I partner with the business level to provide that, which I think is fantastic. So I think that's something I'm seeing more and more of, and I hope that trend continues.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. Um, Thank you. This has been a wonderful conversation. It's been an honor having you on the show. But now you get the solo screen. You get to plug away. Let them know where they can find your book, where they can find you, everything.
Yeah, so I mean, I like to lead with value. So whatever's valuable for you, if I can help you in any way, I like helping people. So please reach out if there's a time or a place I can support you now or in the future. You can learn about me at my website. It's www.nextlevel.coach. So next level is all one word .coach, and you can find my book and my podcasts and some free downloadable resources there. And then I'm on LinkedIn, so feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. My name is Emily Sander, last name Sander, no S at the end.
Thank you. This has been a great episode. I appreciate you stopping by. Um, this was great. I had a good time. You definitely shared a lot of great tips and some great knowledge. You're always welcome to come back on the show if you write another book or if you got any programs that you want to talk about or you want to promote. Send me a message. I would love to have you back on the show. I, I've had people come on multiple times, so I definitely
I,
would love
I
to have you back.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. And thank you for being a good host. I will say you had the broadest set of questions than any host I've had. So you came
Ah,
prepared and you covered a lot of ground.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I try. I try my best. I try. It's and that's it. I believe me. When I first started, I did not know how to really control the show. I did one of my first interviews. I interviewed someone for over 3 hours, and
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Long form.
it was long, really long form. I cut it into 2 episodes. So yeah, this was early on in my podcasting journey, and I've improved with each episode. So I'm learning and growing with each episode. I make sure I try to go and do some research on my guest and so that when they come on, I can ask the questions that need to be asked.
Yeah, well, you certainly did that. So all your hard work and all the reps you put in on the early episodes is paying off now. So I just want to acknowledge you for that. And then I can only imagine where you're going to be in 6 months from now or a year from now if you continue. So it's going to be amazing.
Oh
Appreciate
yeah,
it.
I am booked through April.
Good
I,
for you.
and I do
Dang.
I do three. I record. I do 3 live shows Monday, Monday through Wednesday a week, and so it's yeah,
You do
it's
3 live shows and you're booked till April?
yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right. That's all right. Yeah, I was feeling good about my podcast until I heard about that. I have one weekly show, and I'm booked out for about a month and a half. But one day I'll be as cool as you.
Listen, I've worked hard. I've it was
You have.
crazy. The first when I first started, it was crazy because I almost burnt myself out. I was recording 7 days a week, and it was like anybody wanted. I was just interviewing it.
Uh-huh.
Like, and this is before I went to video. I was just at one point just recording audio, and
Yeah.
and then when I transitioned, and then I had a couple on, and they challenged me right then and there on the episode. They were like, the
Turn on
husband
your
was like,
camera.
no, they're like, oh, so you don't do video? And I'm like, no, I'm not ready. I'm waiting for it to be perfect. Okay, so you don't do video? No, no, no. The third time, he goes, so you don't? Yes. Press record. And the crazy thing was, I was already using StreamYard to do the audio, to record the audio. So all I really had to do was press record and record the video because I was using this platform. I was using StreamYard, but I was recording it directly into my Rodecaster Pro because I was strictly audio. And so I had the tool, I just wasn't using it properly. And they challenged me, and it was for the best thing. So
Yeah.
then
No, I understand because I'm doing okay at interviewing people. Like that took a while, but my solo episodes are still like when I have to talk to the camera for some reason I'm like I lose the ability to talk like a normal human. So I'm always trying to like just say it like you're talking to a friend, but
if you're
it's a skill you got to learn.
if you're anything like me when it comes to doing the solo episodes, there's always a few words that kind of like I can't get them out my mouth. I just can't say them
Yeah,
properly, and for the life of me. And I know how to say the word, but it's just at that very moment,
microphone and a camera.
it
Yeah.
just won't come out the right way. I'm like, oh my
No,
god.
I've been there. I'm like, "All right, take 47. This is the one. Here we go. Let's go." Ugh, yeah, we'll get there. We'll get
Yeah,
there.
oh, man, yeah. But thank you so much. This has been great. Don't leave just yet. I want to chat with you a little bit after off the air. But thank you. This has been great. I've had a wonderful time.
Thank you. Me as well. Thank you.
All right. Let's close out the show with a bang. Shout out to Brandy. She came through. What's up, Brandy? So well, she always get a shout out from me. It says, shout out to my real wise fam, Poppy J, Brandy J. Thank you, Brandy. I love you too. Shout out to the boss lady. Love you and appreciate you, baby. Shout out to everybody who's stopped by and checked out the live. Greatly appreciated. If you haven't already, subscribe. Go check out the audio podcast as well. Check us out on the BS3 network every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, as well as Real Wise TV and the Real Wise Productions Facebook group page. And as always, big shout out to all the essential workers out there. God bless y'all. Be safe. You know how your boy Wise does it. Peace out.